Good afternoon.
Buongiorno, siamo qua per la conferenza stampa di uno dei nostri film fuori concorso, Hopper Wells, e alla mia destra è il produttore del film, Jan Ribza, che forse conoscete, vi ricordate già, è stato qua con noi 2 anni fa, ci ha portato il magnifico restauro di The Other Side of the Wind. Philip, my first question is, tell us a little bit of the circumstances of both Wells and Hopper at the time of this historical evening.
Some historical context?
Yeah.
So this is November of 1970, and Wells just had returned to Hollywood, and he was beginning work on The Other Side of the Wind, although we really didn't have any evidence in terms of a script that was more 71, 72. Hopper was in Taos, New Mexico, editing last movie, and at Wells's request, he invited Hopper to LA for a conversation, and really don't know whether or not he had told Hopper that it would be filmed. His idea was that Hopper was coming off of Easy Rider, obviously was the crowned new king of New Hollywood, and had used Wells's model for Easy Rider, where he acted, directed, wrote, produced, and Wells had heard that Hopper revered him, so he used the opportunity, bought him a ticket, flew him into LA, cooked him some dinner, some pasta, and then Wells filmed the conversation. And as for those of you who've seen the film, it's obviously there is a few mentions of the Jake Hannaford character. I think Wells brings it up 2 or 3 times. Obviously brings it up strategically in some cases during his interrogation. I think it's
Jake Hannaford is, if you recall, is the John Huston character in The Other Side of the Wind, the older filmmaker.
What would become the John Huston character? I mean, in 70, Wells had no idea that he would cast Huston.
Yeah.
So he does bring that up a little bit, but this obviously just felt like a fairly organic conversation between the two.
But it must have been, I was thinking about it this morning, there must have been some kind of a set, because they have no electric light, he had created a degree of fiction in the set.
He did. So in The Other Side of the Wind, part of the gag in the second act during the party is that the power keeps going out, and that they only have the hurricane lamps. And so he set this up with the hurricane lamp and with the fireplace in the background, obviously giving it a really intimate setting. But he felt like he would be able to use bits and pieces of this for The Other Side of the Wind, and then he would eventually shoot the other side of the conversation with whoever that actor would be. And he obviously cut the negative for this, much like he had done with The Other Side of the Wind, into very, very small pieces. So, and we'll get to Bob's editing on it, but obviously Wells had already done quite a bit of work, and we saw evidence that he liked a lot of this material.
So you think that ultimately, after review it, he meant to do something specific on and
I mean, so hard to say. I mean, Beatrice Wells, she did note that her father loved to have projects that could potentially be of use for multiple purposes. So I mean, with you never know. It could have been something like filming the trial or filming Othello or some other thing that he could have thought of. But obviously, I think they each took an interest in each other, so I think he just seized the opportunity to meet Hopper and to film it.
And how would you? I love the piece because it's a little bit of a cat and mouse dynamic, but it's very affectionate also, and it's because it's almost like Wells is looking at Hopper and saying, I've seen this happening, and don't be so cocky. There is that cautionary thing in between.
That's what gives it the dramatic tension. We obviously know what's about to happen to Hopper, and you feel it, and you see Wells kind of giving him the signals and knowing, and him having gone through it, multiple times in his career. It's very interesting to see Hopper and how insecure he is about the editing process. And fairly insecure about the film in general. So it's definitely, I think it's seeing this as a historical document and yeah, knowing what's about to befall him is really interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, I don't see it only as an historical document. I always, you know, I saw this footage very early, and to me it was also it's a film. It's just this enormous relationship between the two of them, and it feels also, since I first watched that. Things have politically and culture have evolved, that it's almost like we find ourselves, you know, and I'm based in the States, so we find ourselves in a very much a similar place than when they were talking, you know, like with a political upheaval and sort of a conversation about how an artist should put politics and degree of activism in its own work. Do you perceive this sense of contemporaneity, you know, with the relationship with the present?
I mean, it struck me way more when I saw it, when I went back to it a year and a half after Other Side of the Wind. And just to give a little bit of context on how, you know, we came about to finishing this film, and obviously, you know, Julia played a key role in this, was I had a lot of Wells fatigue coming out of The Other Side of the Wind, and we knew that this film these materials wouldn't necessarily represent a big portion of The Other Side of the Wind. It just didn't fit within the narrative arc. And I had two purposes during those editing sessions. One was to finish Other Side of the Wind. The second one was anything that we knew didn't fit Other Side of the Wind. It was the type of curio that Morgan Neville was looking for The Love Me When I'm Dead. So as Bob and I that was the companion documentary, which also played here in 2018. And so when Bob and I came across this material, this was one of the things that we flagged for Morgan. I said, I don't think this is something we're going to use, but it's really interesting. And so Bob at the time had assembled the 13 rolls together linearly, kind of in full. And it was a total footage. We had 4 hours and 48 minutes. So the runtime of the kind of the first assembly in whole was 224 or something like that. And we set it aside. And then our mutual friend, Nick Ebeling, who did Along for the Ride, which was here last year.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
2 years ago, sorry.
Yeah.
And I was having lunch with him in LA, and he asked me about the material. He said, you know, how much Hopper material is there, and would I be able to see it? And that really prompted me to go back and revisit it. I had just had enough time away from the Wells world to give it a fresh look, and that's what struck me, and that's what was so different about the material in a year and a half, is that the material was the same, but the world around us had changed. And so again, it was the timing of it. And then Nick said, you know, I just talked to Julia, could she take a look at it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Julia was like half an hour into the movie Surety called and said, this is incredible, you need to finish it, get to work.
Yeah, it really did seem like a movie. It did seem very relevant. Also, I think very reflective of the relationship that both Wells and Hopper had with the American film industry. You know, so it's a very important historical document that way.
I think for academics, both reveal so much about themselves that nobody had heard. And obviously, I knew from the Wells perspective, because I'm certainly better educated in the body of work and in this period of Wells's life. Obviously, with Hopper, I was coming into it not knowing much at all. And so Nick filled in those gaps. And when he saw it, he said, I've never seen Hopper this lucid, revealing this much about his family, about his artistic approach. So it just felt like, in terms of the body of knowledge that we have on both, this was something that was really important academically. And I think for filmmakers and in just general, I think this is something that's really cool, because it is a little bit of a workshop. And you know, and this is something that Bob carried with him, Bob Murawski, throughout the editing process of Other Side of the Wind, was that note about being the enemy of the film. And he certainly used that for Other Side of the Wind when we went through the editing process, about disassociating yourself and kind of divorcing yourself from the beautiful shots and almost being eager to cut those out, because you know that if you're able to, that it's in service to the film, in service to the story.
Well, there is a beautiful passage of the film where Wells talks about that, and about the way it just just love to cut.
Yeah.
And you see the much younger filmmaker defending, every little inch of his footage that he didn't know what to do with, and he, was sitting on it. Yeah.
At the cost of last movie.
At the cost, at the cost of his career, actually. Because Hopper was editing last movie, and then so this was 70, 71. It was here, and then his career took up.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's the stories about Udavarsky and how he influenced that edit. I don't even know. I've heard so many different versions of what was happening behind the scenes of that last movie in that commune in Taos, New Mexico. It's
well, that's Nick. That's Nick's realm. Yeah, that's Nick's world, rather than. Can you tell us a little bit how you and Bob worked on editing and restoring things? You work very lightly. You tiptoe around this. Yeah.
We loved the rawness of the material just as an assembly. Not to say that there wasn't a lot of work for Bob. But we just felt like with showing it with the slates, and especially with that little beginning setup where Wells instructs the camera assistant, being like, come in with that slate and don't ask so nicely. So that Hopper just constantly has that slate coming in front of his face and trying not to break his concentration, because the conversation is unbroken. There's a couple resets, but generally we like the intimacy of it. So we wanted to present it in that style. We felt like the material suited it, and obviously Wells cut with the slates included and printed with slates included. So we had an idea that this was the style that he was developing, and obviously in Other Side of the Wind, the slates would have totally made sense as well. So we felt like, okay, this is going to be the approach, and it had this kind of Pennebaker feel, and we loved the cameras dancing around. So that's the way, and we felt like the conversation, even when you have those lulls and when Wells is trying to trap him, and at times it feels like an interrogation, that's part of the device. And we really like that, just to have it feel like you're there for all the awkwardness. You get to feel it the way that Hopper would feel it. Having this giant figure just off screen, constantly trying to poke and prod. So yeah, Bob and I were very much on the same page. Like, this is the way that it should be done. And when we really started on it, I was in Warsaw at the time, during confinement, finishing Mosquito State. And Bob was in LA editing from home. So at that point, we tried to figure out how do we kind of build a pipeline. And there was a company that really wanted to get the Other Side of the Wind project, a Warsaw-based company called Fix-A-Film. And they do restoration work, and they really wanted to be a part of Other Side of the Wind. Obviously, at that scale, and since it was a 3-picture delivery to Netflix, this was kind of beyond their means at the time. But I just remembered that, and I said, Bob, I think I have a company that has a pipeline between LA and Warsaw, and they've done some great work, and I think that this could be a great solution for us. And so it was great. They did an amazing job at the restoration, but then Bob was able to edit, get the material there, and then do grade there, and then I was able to pop in and check out the restoration process, which happened in Warsaw. So it was a great solution to us being in 9-hour time differences.
And how intense was the sound work that you needed to do?
That was, as with Other Side of the Wind, that was the trickiest part. It's obviously, it looks nice to have that lamp there, but for sound, it was really tough. Not only that, but they don't stop talking throughout the entire film. So dialogue cleanup, it really is the whole film. And Bob brought on Juicy, who's one of his collaborators on all of the Sam Raimi movies. And so he was able to clean that up. And you want to feel, obviously Wells projected, I think, his voice his entire life. This is the life of the theater. So you hear his voice, but still, you don't want to miss a word. So kind of modulating it, making sure that you can feel him off screen and hear everything. It's quite a bit of work.
Well, what, if anything, surprised you that emerges you found surprising that emerges in the conversation?
The Jane Fonda stuff was interesting. I think, when we talk about political sincerity, political chicness, now obviously she was so active, and it's interesting, like, his take on it. Nowadays we'd call it a hot take. It was certainly, had this material come out in the 70s, that would have been a hot take. I think it's Hopper feeling scorned by the whole Fonda family following Easy Rider. So there were some interesting things, but obviously this is the stuff that I know, I think a lot of the stuff when he was talking about his political engagement and the stuff that he had done, marching with Martin Luther King and meeting with Sir Chavez and kind of these things, you know, it's interesting how active he was, and then how he didn't want to confront it head on, how he didn't want that recorded on film in any way. I think he had his own issues then, as you were saying, you know, had the FBI coming in there, that his little commune loading up with guns, but of course he had the most powerful gun. And it's, that stuff's really funny. And you know, it's interesting. It's a sign of the times in a way.
Yeah, very much paranoia.
Paranoia.
Yeah, paranoia.
Yeah. And so, and then the political stuff, when we're talking about civil rights, and that's the stuff that really dovetails with today and with Black Lives Matter. And to me, you know, you see 50 years later how cyclical it is and how little progress we made.
Yeah.
And then Wells said, oh, you know, we're on the verge of having a black president, and it still took 42 years, right? And it finally happened. But it's interesting, the debates that they're having. And then they were talking about how, you know, it's maybe there was not going to be a revolution, but and who would want to be president? And it would be just some rich man to fulfill a wish. I mean.
No. Very prophetic.
Very prophetic.
It's really prophetic.
Yeah.
I was also surprised I mean, it's unbalanced, I think, but I was also surprised that Hopper would offer so much commentary on film, and, you know, I didn't know he had a strong relationship with Italian cinema.
Italian film.
Yeah,
I mean, he's still trying to get his mouth around some of the last names, but.
Yes. I know. No, he was trying really hard. He was trying really hard.
I think he was trying to impress Wells. I think this was the interesting thing is Orson tried to seem very hip, and Hopper tried to seem the intellectual. So they're trying to meet each other at some place halfway.
Yeah, and I think overall Wells is very patient. I think he loses his patience only a little bit towards the end.
Well, at one point, he says, you know, this is the first point where I find you very weak. Yeah.
And do you think that what contribution do you think brought Gary Greaves? Because I mean, the camera work is part of the beauty of the piece. And
I mean, I think that they're developing that style. To me, this felt like a camera test. This was the first materials that we saw. Because
for the other side.
For the other side of the wind, because the early stuff they started in August, and this is November, and that stuff was with Bogdanovich still playing the cineast. And that was the stuff they shot. That this is, you know, something that Peter Bogdanovich talks about all the time. It's his go-to anecdote about when Orson called him up and saying, "Meet me at the train tracks over by LAX." And so that's the stuff they shot in August, and it stylistically was very different. And this is, you start to see how they're going to shoot the party scene with these cameras kind of dancing around. Obviously, very silhouetted lighting, very strong kind of, you know, backlighting. So. But yeah, to me, this felt like a camera test.
And what is your what are you going to do with it right now? I mean, the film has several festivals lined up for showing, but do you intend to release to find?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'd love to get this out. This is separate from Netflix. So this was because we had the 3-picture delivery for them, and then so this is a totally separate film with its separate set of investors. So we're going to, you know, do what's best for the film in terms of distribution and see. Everybody's catching up because this project was a secret, and so nobody knew that this existed until you announced it. And obviously there's no Toronto market, so we don't have these things in the traditional sense. So it's, you know, we're obviously doing the festival model where we're going to travel with it. I think it's already finding. I mean, obviously from a festival standpoint, it's. I think we have quite a few coming up all the way through. I think, you know, January already, and then we'll figure out what we can do next year. Hopefully, we have a vaccine, and then, you know, there's a theatrical.
Yeah.
Because I think with something like this, I mean, obviously it's a fairly niche film, but it looks so beautiful. So we'd love to show it, even if it's some type of a small release, something symbolic, but just to give people that opportunity.
And the last question, because our offer hour is gone, but you are wearing 2 hats at this year's festival. You're here as a producer of this and as a director of Mosquito. How does it feel? How do you separate the 2 things? And
it's difficult with press when it's both at once and we're jumping around, but it feels like the same type of work, honestly. Obviously, with Mosquito State, I was very, very emotional. It was such a big thing for me. With this, I've done so many Wells things. I'm on automatic. It's autopilot. I'm very excited about this because it's so different than Other Side of the Wind. So this is kind of it's a little bit of a different experience. But in terms of my approach to it, it's pretty much the same. It's image making and storytelling, and obviously Bob being the one element combining the two. So having him as an amazing collaborator, it's just those things kind of, we find those conversations and all these things end up overlapping.
Okay, well, thank you, Philip, for being here. Thank you for putting together the editing the film and restoring and bringing it to Venice and to be such a friend. And thank you for coming here.
Thank you, Julia.
Buongiorno a tutti e benvenuti alla conferenza stampa di LAILA in HAIFA. Vi presento subito gli ospiti al tavolo, queste fantastiche attrici, Bahira Blassi, Naama Preis, Ana Laszlo, lì c'è una Z di troppo, Maria Zereik e Amos Kitai, regista. Attendo le vostre domande, vorrei cominciare io con una domanda per Amos Kitai. LAILA in HAIFA è un film su un luogo di incontro che è una città e un club in particolare, ma il primo luogo di incontro e di dialogo è proprio il film, è proprio il suo film. E lei sta proseguendo in questo, diciamo, in questo percorso in cui i suoi film sono un luogo di incontro e di dialogo. Se ci racconta, se ci parla un po' di questo aspetto.
So we are all very delighted to be in Venice, which is the first festival, maybe the only main festival this year, who had the courage to have a real festival, because cinema, like our film, can exist only with real meeting, real raconte. So not just virtual. Cinema can have parallel existence in alternative mediums, also the websites and so on, but at some point you need a real experience of cinema, which is you sit in a dark room with good sound and you watch a film and you go through this experience. And our club in the film LAILA in HAIFA, Fatouche, which is a real existing club, is a real place where people can really meet and cross the borders between the hate and the violence of this region. They can have love affairs, they can have disputes, they can have disagreements, but this hub, this shelter, is the real place. It's not a virtual place. So when Alberto Barbera told me that we are selected in competition, I was delighted, because this is really doing a similar way in the film itself than the Festival of Venice is doing by having a real festival. A real meeting with all the prudence that we need to do to have a festival, and all this press conference. I don't feel unprivileged that there are not so many people, because I know that even politicians speak in front of empty halls, so why should we be insulted? Did I answer your question? Probably not.
The second part about the film as a meeting point for...
So this hub I discovered through one of my actresses from a previous film, who told me, listen, Amos, I was born in Haifa. She said, you think you know Haifa, but you don't know Haifa. So I will take you, Lamis Amar said to me, she said, I will take you to a night tour of your town, and you will see a city that you don't know. I was born in Haifa, and I love this city, because it's a city which is less dramatic than Jerusalem, which were all the mighty religions fighting each other for eternity, and Tel Aviv, which is a very cool city. But Haifa is a city of moderation, and I like it a lot. It's you can have even Benjamin likes Haifa. It's a city of moderation. We can have a nice relationship. We can look at the trees, we can look at nature. And I think that if we want to stay optimistic in this dark moment, we have to look at Haifa as a model. We can disagree. We can have disagreement and disputes, but we don't want to kill. And if I have to refer to the well-known sentence, let's make love, not war. Let's make love, let's see each other, let's meet each other, let's even disagree, but let's have a place, a physical, a real place, not a virtual place of meeting. So this club, which is the center, and as you know, I'm just an architect. I never studied film or theater. So the space, the very space of this beautiful club, which was created by a Palestinian owner next to the railway, is the place he wanted to create this kind of shelter. In this shelter, people can have intimacy. They can be straight or gay, Jews or Arabs, and they will meet in this place. And by the very meeting, they will create an opposition to the regular currents of hatred of the Middle East. Just a meeting. Let's start somewhere. So it is, in that sense, it is a proposition. It is an optimistic proposition.
Vorrei chiedere alle attrici in che misura il regista vi ha chiesto di partecipare alla costruzione non solo dei personaggi, ma proprio del senso del film, del significato del film.
So why don't you start? Why don't Behira start? Behira. What is the way that I asked you to participate in the making of the film? You have to click on this microphone. No, down.
It was a coincidence. I got a message on Instagram from someone I know. He's an actor. And he said he thinks that I should meet the casting person. Ilan. And then I met Amos with Ilan. And that's how everything started.
And Beira, maybe you can tell the people here what you do usually. And where do you come from? From Jaffa and so on?
Yeah, I come from Jaffa.
You are from a Palestinian Muslim family, right? Okay, you say.
Not very Muslim,
no,
but the
but
large family are Muslims.
Yeah.
I live in Jaffa. It's a city close to Tel Aviv. Now,
Yes.
Jaffa, Tel Aviv, for me. And that's it. I work in a kindergarten now as a leading teacher for like very babies. That's it. I enjoy it a lot.
For me, it was such an enriching experience. I've learned a lot. It was quite challenging working with Amos. I think he has a very unique vision of what he wants, and he knows exactly how to achieve it. And yeah, it was really challenging. And you can see, we were talking about this, Nama and I, we were talking about how filming the whole scenes were in one shot. It was like some kind of a choreography. It was some kind of a dance, move dance. Like it was really challenging, and just to, you know, with the large space, and just to, you know, and Amos gave us the opportunity just to express ourselves and just to try different variations in each shot. So you just, yeah, it was really exciting.
For me, it was the second time meeting Amos, because I had some kind of audition/a meeting for his film that he did about Rabin. I didn't get the part. I was very disappointed. So at the second audition, the second meeting, I was really hoping to have it, and it happened, and I'm very, very excited, and I was very curious to work with him, because I think for me, it was the first time working with someone who looks so deeply into shapes in space. And I used to dance for many years, and I almost felt that during the scene, we the actors were almost creating choreography. And it was a very special relations between us, Amos, and the camera. And I think that for me, that was the most unique and special part of the shooting. And I honor you, and really, I think You do amazing work. And be here for the 7th time is major. And thank you for this opportunity, this festival. I mean, be here is so important for cinema and for the world of art. So
Yeah, I think it's
thank you.
Like the film festival. It's enough proof that we don't need anyone to validate our existence as artists, and we are, and we were here, and we're going to be here, making magic and art, no matter what the circumstances are.
Somebody's trying to Morse.
Maybe.
I have a long relationship with Amos Gitai. We've been dancing since together, talking about choreography. 17 years ago, it was my first festival that I took part with LAILA, a film of Amos. He gave me a very big chance then. And then we did the Free Zone in Cannes. And the last movie, רכבת הקלה, the light, איך קוראים לזה באנגלית? Tramway, כן, Jerusalem. And this movie that I actually had to take a bigger part, so I'm like a guest, it's a guest part, but Amos never writes guest, everyone is equal. I couldn't because he moved the dates twice, the production. But he said, I'm not going to make the film without Johanna. So we did only one day of shooting, but I think the scene is very nice and the movie is beautiful. It's so colorful and so different from the other movies that I did with Amos. And it's a long relationship and a good relationship. And I'm happy to be here. And I'm happy that Venezia decided to make the festival in those days. And let's see the movie tonight and enjoy it. I hope that you're gonna love it.
Ci sono delle domande? Sì, c'è una domanda lì.
Salve, Francesco Gallo, XIANG. Una domanda per il regista. Chiaramente questo locale è un luogo dove gli attriti si smussano, si stemperano e grazie anche all'arte, a quello che c'è nel locale, a questa realtà più felice, serena. Volevo capire quali sono gli elementi che possono creare meno attrito, diciamo, nel Medio Oriente e che oggi sono più presenti di prima. Lei vede un cambiamento verso una pacificazione?
I mean, if I knew, I would be delighted to announce you the eternal peace of the Middle East today, but obviously I don't. But in general, you know, I don't think that the arts, the cinema or literature or visual art can change the reality directly. We can make people think, and this is a good beginning. But the reality is changed by political gesture, by machine guns, you know, by different things is reality. But I prefer to use cinema as a way of thinking. And but at the same time, the arts have an impact, you know.
Does.
Sometimes I like to remind us about, let's say, a painter. Let's take Guernica of Picasso, you know. So Picasso is very upset about the bombardment of the Luftwaffe of this village, the Basque village. His medium is painting. He makes a painting. The painting is not going to change immediately the situation because Franco and the fascists won in Spain. But look what happened a year ago. A year ago, there is a new prime minister in Spain, socialist prime minister. And what is the first act that he decides to do? He decides to take Franco from the kitsch mausoleum, his bones, and to move them away. And you ask yourself, why is it such a priority to move Franco? And this is only the work of the artists, the painters, the militants, that they keep memory. We have to preserve memory. That's the thing. We have to preserve that this is possible, to have human civilized relation in a bar in Haifa, to have love, to have intimacy between people. We have to remind ourselves that to get away from a racist point of view and to keep moderation. This is what we can contribute to humanity, you know. And obviously we don't control the political scene. The films which think that they will change immediately reality, I think they are too pretentious. They feel that they do it. But we have to keep memory, you know. Hannah mentioned and Naama mentioned the film I did on the assassination of Yitzhak Rabin. That this year we mark 25 years for the assassination in 1995. So we have to keep this as an idea. You have to keep it as an idea. It doesn't mean that the film or the exhibition will change it, but we have to keep an idea that there was a moment that the rapprochement of people of the Middle East was a possible idea, not just political gesture through avoiding the Palestinians and so on. So I think this is where the arts and the cinema have to project a project like this microcosmos, like this metaphor of this bar in Haifa. This is a project. Let's be in a bar, whatever is your sexual taste and so on. Let's have intimacy. Let's relate to each other as people. Because if we wait up for the politicians to move away, we will wait a long time ago. Also, you have very many entrenched interest to preserve the conflict in the Middle East. Let's not be naive. We have people who are working on preserving it. So we can through films, and these people who want to preserve the conflict exist on all sides. They're not just in one side or another. So we can keep the idea that the human relations is possible, and through this little human gesture, it will erode the hostility.
Haifa also is a town, a city that many, many years Arabs, Palestinians, and Israelis are living together for many years in peace, in culture. This is like a microcosmos, but Haifa itself, the whole city, for many years now, since I think Israel was, we live in peace together, and it's possible. It is possible.
Vorrei sapere da Amos anche, ho una curiosità, nella sua carriera alterna film di finzione e documentari. Allora mi chiedevo se avesse mai pensato di realizzare un documentario su questo locale che esiste veramente, perché invece ha deciso di farne un film di finzione.
I thought fiction is better.
But you make wonderful documentary movies also.
Per avere l'opportunità di lavorare con delle attrici, per quale ragione? Era più efficace, per quale ragione?
Exactly. Otherwise I will be sitting here alone talking about my documentary, you know. But I mean, it's not just that. It's you know, I think that today, if you want me to extend on it, there is too much fusion between documentary and fiction, you know. And I think that there are two great disciplines, you know. They don't need to be all the time mixed. I think documentary is a great cinematic form, not necessarily reportage, but documentaries. And fiction is also great. I used to say that documentary is like archaeology, you know, you excavate. And when you excavate, you have to be delicate because you cannot use a bulldozer. So for instance, I'm not crazy about Michael Moore because it's too much assertive. I think that it's delicate. You have to take a brush, and if you use a bulldozer, you will destroy the site. You know? So you have to be delicate. Fiction is architectural. You build something. You have an idea, and you have to construct, out of the idea, you construct the reality. So it's true that this bar exists before me, and it will exist after me, but I thought of packing into it. Also, in the dialogue, which I worked with my co-writer, Marie-Josée Sancerre, I integrated also text of a very great writer that I like, which is Robert Musil, L'Homme sans qualité, who speaks about a kind of a period of political decadence between the First and the Second World War. So fiction allows me to go to this direction.
Mm-hmm. Can I say something?
Yeah.
As an actress, I find the work of Amos Gitaï as a director very close to documentary, because after we shoot normally the scene, he says, you understand the conflict, you know the character, improvise. And it's very close to, somehow it's close to documentary. I mean, it's not only written things, it's things that comes out of the situation.
Mm-hmm. Ci sono domande? C'è una domanda qui?
Alessandro Guatti di Light Movie, volevo ringraziare il regista, chiedere se ci può dire qualche informazione sullo stile di questo film, che è molto particolare perché sembra tratti di guardare un'opera teatrale, mentre in altri momenti è veramente molto cinematografica.
You know, style is better that you will write about it, you know, because I'm just doing it, you know, so I don't want to both do it and define it in style, but I like hybrid forms, especially in this kind of films. You know, there was a period that I did very consistent form, like Kippur, or like Kadosh.
Scusate, ma cos'è questo rumore?
So there was a period like that. And now I'm in, because the reality is becoming so hybrid, and I think that cinema has to create a dialogue with this hybrid. I spoke yesterday to an Israeli journalist, Avner, who is sitting here, and I told him that I think that now we have to be aware of the modern condition. The modern condition is a juxtaposition of non-consistent fragments. Some are theatrical, some are media-oriented, some are documentary, and we have to translate this experience of modernity, and also what I mentioned before, that the meetings are occasional. They are not continuous. They are not a village of 15 generations. People meet like that. They meet in a bar, and they can have a long relation. They meet in a taxi. They meet in a... So all the profound meetings are occasional. And I think that cinema should also integrate this parameter, which is also in the film, that the meetings are occasional. They are not a kind of narrative constructed, heavy construction. So it's a juxtaposition of meetings of different characters coming from different origins, using different styles, which is also authentic to the different actresses and actors. Also, you have some very experienced actresses like Hannah Laszlo or like Makram Khoury, who played with Spielberg, who did great work, or Tzachi Alevi, who did a television series like Fauda and so on, and Naama, who did a feature herself, and you can have first-time actresses. And so it's a mixture between an experience and a freshness of somebody just walking to the set. Not even, like Behira said, not being even completely coherent or conscious, that she's just walking into a situation and giving a very powerful presence, you know. So I like this attitude of cinema to be inclusive. It's not so much improvisational, because we have an idea, and from different sources, but we rehearse it. So it's not like we just walk into the set and just do it. We have to articulate it also with the great work of the cameraman Eric Gauthier that I want to salute because he did a beautiful work of light. And cinema, like theater or like architecture, is to confederate people of different talents from different origin, to be on one hand in listening to them, but also to know to say cut or to make decisions or to do choreography, like Naama said. So or also to tell Maria that I don't understand what she's doing. And then when I see her on what she did, she's great. That's the miracle of cinema. It's not always your assessment live, which is really what you get on the screen. Sometimes you will be disappointed. You think that things are fantastic and they're not. And sometimes, like my discovery of the performance of Maria, which is very subtle and beautiful, is really when I saw her on the screen. So you have to be both, like in everything in life, both ambitious and modest at the same time. Relax and not relax. You have to have a lot of opposing characteristics.
Purtroppo dobbiamo fermarci qui. We have to stop here. Grazie.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
A.
Buongiorno a tutti, avviso che la conferenza sarà in inglese, visto che la maggior parte degli ospiti parlano in inglese. So welcome everybody, good morning, and welcome to the press conference of the Golden Lion for Lifetime Achievement to director An Hoi, who is here with us, and of the film XIANG, Love After Love, which is screened out of competition at the 77th Venice Film Festival. I invite you to join me in welcoming our guest from your left-hand side for Fortissimo Films, Gabriele Rosny. For Bluebird Film Production Company, Mr. Danny Liu. And then on my left, the editor of the film, Mary Stephen. And of course, a very warm applause and welcome back to director and recipient of the Golden Lion for Lifetime Achievement, An Hoi. And thank you to all of you for being here with us in person, despite the difficulties in traveling, of course. It's a pity that Alibaba Pictures and HAIFA Pictures, which also supported the film, could not join us today for the press conference due to traveling restrictions. But we are also happy to announce that we will have another guest with us in the last part of the conference. The male lead, Eddie Pang, will join us via Zoom. As you can see, he's already here with us. So keep your questions for Eddie for the last part of this conference. But let me ask first, before opening the conference to the floor, let me ask to Anne, how do you feel about being back in Venice after Huang Jin Golden Era in 2014? That was our closing film. And then before that, of course, with A Simple Life. How do you feel being back, not only with a new film, but also as the recipient of this very prestigious award?
I have too many things to say, but maybe here I would just say that all my friends were very worried that I'm going to get the prize together with Twilda because I will look awful beside her. So when I don't have to receive the prize with her, I'm very happy about it. But actually, I do have a statement to make about the film which we have been making. It's about 1 minute. May I say that? You see, the film was shot because it's the work of Eileen Chang, and it's about high society in its moral depravity before the Second World War. It is nostalgic, but the human drama is true even to this day. But actually, what I want to state is the drama behind the making of this film. We shot, when we first finished shooting, the protest movement in Hong Kong started. And Mary and I were editing for about 5 months during the movement. I mean, every day we were hearing the tear gas from downstairs, and we could even smell it. And I have to return home every night through the subway and looking up at the Google Maps to see where the protests are. And when we have finished, after 5 months, Mary left. And we're left with the 7 months of doing the post-work all via Zoom. Or we were dubbing with Eddie. He was in Japan. Other actors were in Beijing. and all the studios in Japan, Taipei, and Hong Kong were vested together in a complete effort with no sabotage on each other. And the mixing was done in Taipei, and so we hardly met, and we've done it, and so it was how do you call it, a fantastic struggle. So what I can say from this experience is that it's a kind of moving example of how film people work, regardless of crossfires and everything. And we've tried our best to make the film in spite of great difficulties. And of course, coming to Venice itself is itself a culmination, because the first night when I was supposed to be here, I couldn't even get on the plane because of border restrictions. Yes, I'm also very sorry that a lot of the people who worked with me so hard can't get here as well. But I hope I can represent them to answer your questions.
Thank you, Anne. And maybe we can also allow your collaborators, Mary and producer Danny Liu, to share with us their comments on this experience, which was done under such particular circumstances.
Yes, thank you for coming, first of all. It was a very strange undertaking, because when I was going to Hong Kong already, I couldn't even get to, I was stuck in Helsinki. And then I had to spend 48 hours there because the Hong Kong airport was closed. So it was like a sort of difficult but exhilarating working experience. And we had a long months of working together, but probably it even helped the way that the film was shaped, that it helped in our intensity and sort of emotional response to what was happening on screen. I hope anyway, so yeah.
Uh, 因为这是我的第一次的片子，那跟导演的合作呢，他帮助我非常多，因为他的经验等于说像一个老师一样，一点一点去引导和帮助我。他整个这个片子的拍摄过程，我就像跟他的合作就是一个非常感恩学习的一个这个态度。 去完成这个电影，其实，在过去我是看导演，也是在台下看导演，终于有机会能跟导演合作一个这样的作品，是非常非常荣幸的，也从他身上学到了非常多的一些精神和对电影的态度。
La prima volta che lavoro per un lungometraggio con questa intensità e importanza di responsabilità a livello produttivo, ed è stata per me una grande esperienza seguire An Hui come maestra, perché mi ha insegnato molto. È stato un processo di studio pieno di gratitudine. In secondo luogo, in passato io ero sotto il palco a guardare le sue opere, ma è stato veramente un grande onore questa volta poter essere con lei, imparare da lei, dal suo spirito di amore per il cinema e trasmetterlo nel nostro lavoro comune.
Thank you, and I don't know if Eddie can already hear us. If so, we would like also to invite you to share your comments on having worked with Anne on this film. You've had the chance to work with director An Hui on other works, but in particular, how was to work on Love After Love in these particular circumstances, and how do you felt about it? we wait for the Zoom experience to work. Yes, you're there.
Oh, okay. Hello.
Now we hear you. Hi. Great to have you with us.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, hello, everyone. It's buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
Sono Eddie. So I couldn't hear the question. What was the question?
Do you want to share with us your experience on acting with Anne for Love After Love? Any comment you want to share with us on this latest work?
Yeah. The thing is, obviously, the reason I have this privilege to work with director An Hui was definitely it happened 3 years ago. I had a chance to work with him on Our Time Will Come, and I learned a lot from her. And so this time it was an easy decision when Love After Love came up. So I was drawn to the script and the role. I'd never taken this kind of role before. So you know, the one thing that I think I can work with director Anne is she is amazing on set and she works so hard, and she is willing to give us a lot of space. As an actor, you can get closer to the director and then try to do something that you wanted to do, and then if it works, and then you work. If it doesn't work, right, and then Anne will just tell me that, Eddie, I think it's too big. I think it's too much. Maybe you should just go with the. I think she will. I think I will pick the last take. So the relationship when I was working with Anne is like friends. Like you can have this 100% trust between us. So on the set, especially on Love After Love, there are some uncomfortable scenes, like the George Chow needs to kind of like, you know, a player, a ladies' man. You could put, and actually, I think you can call it a scumbag, an asshole, sometimes to the fellow of actress. So those scenes I need to kind of need more time to discuss with Anne before we shoot it. So that's pretty about it. And then it's just a great journey to be with director Anne, to work with her on set. And off set, we are really close friends. She's often sent me books or movies. She wants me to watch it. I think maybe she thinks I need to read more.
Thank you.
And yeah, I'm reading. Okay.
Okay, let's see if there are questions from the audience, also from the journalists here. There's one question on that side. Thanks.
For Anne, you described so well the circumstances while you were working. I would like to know what you think about the movement in the street in Hong Kong, and if, because you have finished your work during this protest, if something is entered in the film, even if I know it's completely another story, but if somehow your feelings about what was happening, it's entered in the movie.
What I feel about the political situation cannot be inferred from my work, then I think it's useless that I've shot film for so many years. I think it's better for me not to comment too much on the situation itself, because this film is invested by a Chinese company, and they have allowed us to shoot this movie with immense moral complexity, and it has passed censorship with very minor cuts, which is I think not unthinkable, but it's difficult. But we've already, and they just were very supportive about the movie. What was your second question?
was part of the first, but if during your work in these particular circumstances, if your feeling about what was happening in your country as somehow entered inside the movie.
That is maybe, as Mary said, it's got more urgency, that this film is important for us, that we're making a film in a very difficult circumstances, and we're still making it. That kind of urgency and passion, but it's indirect. In fact, I often feel that I'm not shooting what is happening, but I think it got into the film somehow. It's also about revolt of young people or against the system. I mean, but in a sort of very minor way in Chinese society, especially in Hong Kong society, which is at that time a very mixed thing, you know. Yeah.
Yes, there's another question here.
Hello, my question is for Hannah. About the soundtrack, I was to work with Mr. Sakamoto, and if the soundtrack was already, you have already in mind to work with him before the movie, or you do the collaboration after?
Obviously, I want to work with him because I'm a fan of his music, also a fan of his acting. Because when he was about 27, last time I was saying I was trying to get him to shoot a movie for me, and I went all the way to Tokyo to ask. But then he sent his representative told me Mr. Sakamoto wants to concentrate on music. He's not into acting anymore. So that was already collaborate. This time when we collaborated him, we just had immediately before Hong Kong was quarantined, you know, from outside. We were in Tokyo just for 2 hours talking about the film. We've done all our homework, and then without a hitch, he did it, and he did the whole thing much better. When the music was added to the film, I think it adds that dimension of very ambiguous meaning to the whole thing. It's not in the picture, but it's all in the music. So I'm very, very pleased, but that is to be expected with Mr. Sakamoto.
Yes, and if I may, actually, I would like to take the chance of these two questions to add one extra question about this idea that also Eddie mentioned of this teamwork, this ability that you have of creating such amazing collaborations. With some people you've worked before, some other people have been your friends, like Mary, for many years. And in this film, actually, in addition to Sakamoto as the music composer, you also working with Christopher Doyle as the DOP, Tutu Zhe as the sound of the film. Wan Yi is a wonderful script writer. Was this artistic team conceived at the very beginning of the project for working on Zhang Ailin's novel, which is also a very, dense and very special work to take, or was it something that you individually developed over a long time?
No, I was, when there was this novel which we had to do, I just thought that Eddie is ideal for the part. He didn't believe it himself. You can ask him. It took me a lot of convincing. But then Mary, we worked together several times, and we worked very well. And then it was Christopher Doyle, like Sakamoto. I wanted to work with him 20 years before, but I never managed to. But actually, when we actually started working, we quarreled, but we made up.
So, Eddie, did you feel from the beginning that that role was for you?
I think it's definitely like I said, it's very challenging along the way, and very need a lot of hard work to kind of understand the character. So I found a lot of time that I couldn't understand the character itself. Like, why is he doing this? What's his behavior? What's his motivation? I have to get it, down on paper, right? And then start to work the craft. So I constantly asking the question about, like, to Anne, like, why is he doing this? Why is he wanted to be have this behavior, and then his behavior towards women, and women somehow drawn to this weird relationship with him, and I just found out it's not me. So I need a lot of like background stories, or what happened to that era, the people, how they walk, what they eat, to understand why they have this thinking of George Chow. So that's why in the beginning, I was like, I'm not mixed. And I don't know, I have to pick up Portuguese. So every day on set, I was like, where's my Portuguese teacher? And I need to practice my dancing and everything. So that's the hard part. And I have to, I lost a lot of weight to stay in the character, just to look more thinner, slimmer. I think during that era, I'm a bit more, because my last movie before doing this movie, I was a well physique. So I tried to lose a lot of weight. And yeah, and then talking about working with the masters, and definitely it's a pleasure to always work with her, learn so much from her. And she taught me like acting. We're constantly talking about acting, like conscious acting or subconscious acting, all this stuff. We're talking on set, off set, and working with the master like cinematographer Christopher Dahl. And he is such a funny guy. He is so cute. He always wanted to add a lot of shots on us, like close up. And then, but every time Anne is like, I think we got it. I don't want any more shots. And then Chris is like, I want to do more. And then to try to capture our emotions and the relationships between our chemistry on the set. So, and also Amy Wanda, the great wardrobe designer, I remember every time I was on set, she always wanted to take a photo with me. I have no idea why. I think first, before I thought she's a fan of me. I'm a fan of hers, right? But then she wanted to take a photo with me. Sometimes I was like, why is she want to? Is it because I'm wearing her outfit? That's the reason. Every time I wear her outfit, I feel I'm in the character. And she really happy, and she came up to me and say, Eddie-san, 写真です写真ましょうか? That's I remember Amy Wanda on the set. She's really kind, really cute. So all these masters, I feel like they are really gracious and accommodated. They just help me on set. Every time I have a problem, I just look at them. You somehow can find a way to get immersed to the role and do the acting. Thank you.
And actually, I don't know if there are other questions from the audience. Yes?
There are several lines that talk about people who have different roots and described in the movie as not reliable. And so I would like to know if you have put the lines to stress the opposite things, obviously, or why you've choose to do this.
Ask me. But what lines?
Yeah, about people who have different roots. Yes, there are, I think, 2 lines about that. And in the film, they say, we are from mixed race, we are not... yes, that one, okay.
Yes, it's true. Yeah, that is sort of, when I was young, there were, Eurasians there, which are, some of them are my friends. And they have... I feel that they are all very beautiful, and then they suffer from inferiority complex. And they are a tribe, all of that, all by themselves. And there should be stories about them. Yeah. But right now, I mean, the world, there are more mixed races than ever, so it's not so obvious.
And somehow your film also gives to us a sense of that era. That obviously is transmitted, as Eddie was saying, through details, through clothing, through the whole atmosphere that is the film is imbued in. However, I wonder how, when you decide to work on such an era, how do you find the modernity in it? What do you find about that time, which is still, which might still be interesting for us, no matter whether in Asia or somewhere else in the world?
I think it's a love story, most of all. You see, I've shot Eileen Chang's novels 2 times before. The first one, Love in a Fallen City, is about mixed, how do you call it? Mixed purposes in falling with love, because the woman wants to marry the man and the man doesn't want to marry her. And I didn't understand that, and I didn't shoot it very well. That was shot in 1982. The second one was about how circumstances made people separate, or the forces of society or family make them unable to be together, although they love each other. But this film is about a woman who really fell in love with a man and was about to give him everything, but it just didn't work. And it was about this kind of extremely realistic portrayal of fatal love and its circumstances. And this kind of thing is, how do you call it? This theme is eternal. Nowadays, so Eileen Chang, for me, I've been reading her for about 30, 40 years. She's remarkable in many things, but I think about the exactitude and the modernity about which she depicts love is so remarkable that I think, I don't know whether I was successful in delivering the thing, but I feel that is something which is very remarkable about a novel.
Thank you. And maybe one last comment also from the sales company and the production company on, and if there has been any particular challenge in kind of completing the film in these last months, which I know you've all been struggling, and actually we should thank you again for bringing this work to us under these difficult times.
Well, I think for the sales internationally and for the festivals, well, it's been a very, very challenging time. In general, for all of us, the last time we all were together was, well, with the festivals, it was in Berlin. So it's been 7 months since we've been able to actually physically be in a place. And we are just overjoyed that Anne can be here, that Danny can be here, that Mary can be here. We would have loved to have Eddie and Christopher join us as well. Sadly, that was not possible, but let's hope in the next few months, somewhere else in the world, we will see them with this beautiful film.
Thank you.
挑战是肯定非常大的。从制片的角度来去讲，要做这样的一个作品，它的时代，然后是不是跟现在相符，要考虑到说服投资方，然后说服我们可能所要找的主创啊。当然，这个整个主创的阵容是非常强大的，这个本身就是一个最大的挑战。但是非常幸运，他们都是世界级的专业性的这个老师和前辈，所以这点呢，反而最后成了一个幸运。但是这个挑战，我觉得它是和最后的你的内心的成就感是相对应的。可能你把这个挑战能去拿下来，或者是你能去解决掉，那最后你所带来的成就感也是一样大。
Senz'altro c'è stata una sfida, perché è un progetto di produzione che deve rendere in un film d'epoca che abbia una certa corrispondenza e anche responsabilità verso gli investitori, così come la capacità di gestire un team così importante con una professionalità a livello mondiale tra i migliori e creare una squadra che poi diventi come una famiglia. Ma credo che più alta era la sfida, più alto è stato il senso di soddisfazione interiore e di pienezza che abbiamo acquisito alla fine vincendo questa sfida.
Bene, grazie. Thanks to all our guests. And I think we should actually wrap up the conference, but not before having thanked once again our guest here, and of course our guest via Zoom. So thanks, Eddie, for joining us. We hope to have you here with us for your next work. And of course, we wish everyone all the best for the film. And once again, congratulations to Anne for her well-deserved Golden Lion for Lifetime Achievement 2020.
Thank you very much.
Buongiorno, siamo qua per la conferenza stampa di uno dei nostri film in concorso, il film è Notturno, e vi presento dalla destra in fondo gli ospiti al tavolo. Il produttore Serge Laloux, il produttore Rai Cinema Paolo Del Brocco, Gianfranco Rosi, il regista del film, la produttrice Donatella Palermo e qui alla mia destra il produttore Orwan Igrabia. Comincerei con una domanda per Gianfranco, che mi ha gentilmente così suggerito. Gianfranco, partiamo dalla prima scena del film, che sembra una metafora di tutto quello che poi viene dopo. E perché?
Guarda, quella scena lì è stata una delle prime scene che ho girato, quella dei... Avete visto tutti il film, vero? Sì. La scena dei soldati. Ed è sempre stata all'inizio del film. In italiano, giusto?
Sì, sì.
Sì, sì. È sempre stata all'inizio del film e io non ho mai capito il perché. A un certo punto la volevo anche togliere, quella scena lì. E poi invece Jacopo e Fabrizio, così... ci tenevano molto. Per me è una scena un po' mancata perché volevo girarla in un altro modo, volevo approfondire quell'aspetto lì dei soldati al mattino, questi soldati di cui non vedi le divise, non capisci a quale reggimento appartengono. E poi recentemente, pensando a quella scena, ho capito che era come un sentimento, una sensazione di quello che succede in Medio Oriente. Queste pause, questa distanza che si crea tra un evento e l'altro, tra una battaglia e l'altra. C'è questo grido di battaglia quando loro sono vicino alla cinepresa. Chiaramente lo facevano quasi un po' per darmi noia, perché io filmavo da quell'angolo e c'è questo questo urlo, questo attacco, questo urlo di guerra, no? E poi il suono va via, sparisce e sembra un momento di pace, e poi ne arriva un altro. Io non li vedevo arrivare, però sentivo che arrivava un altro battaglione. Poi di nuovo c'è la calma, la tranquillità, spariscono e poi si sente soltanto l'eco di questo urlo. E quindi un po' è quello che succede in Medio Oriente, dove c'è una guerra, poi c'è un po' di pace, di calma, sembra di nuovo riprendere, che le cose ricomincino, e poi c'è qualcosa che non ti aspetti, di nuovo un altro allarme, e poi c'è l'eco, e poi c'è tutti distanti, e poi alla fine tutti questi battaglioni, tutti questi elementi di attacco, di subbuglio, di qualcosa che provoca sempre un senso di sorpresa, si allontanano e c'è soltanto l'eco di queste urla qui, di questi passi e l'eco della guerra, quello. È come un po' il film alla fine ha questo ritmo, no? Dove senti la guerra sempre in distanza, dove senti il pericolo in distanza e poi ti arriva alle spalle, ti arriva all'improvviso quando meno te l'aspetti. Guarda quello che è successo a Beirut pochi mesi fa, no? C'è sempre un momento di quiete dove senti soltanto l'eco della guerra e poi di nuovo la distruzione.
Come sei arrivato all'idea di fare un film che ha un rapporto così obliquo con l'immagine del conflitto e il modo in cui viene raccontato normalmente? A partire dal prologo che hai, cioè dal paragrafo che apre il film, che colloca le storie dei personaggi in una dimensione, cioè della grande storia con la S maiuscola, è quasi epica, e che poi contrapponi al loro quotidiano.
Sì, epica e difficilissima. Io in 3 anni di Medio Oriente mi ero informato abbastanza all'inizio del film e poi a un certo punto non capivo bene le dimensioni, i conflitti e poi ho abbandonato, ho detto ok, negli anni capirò, adesso dopo aver passato 3 anni lì so di capire ancora meno. Però il film non voleva essere un film che potesse dare delle risposte, né io mi sono posto delle domande. Quello che per me era importante è trovare quelle storie che avessero così la quotidianità, no? La quotidianità è all'interno di questi confini che sempre vacillano tra la vita e la morte, tra la vita e l'inferno, tra la vita e la distruzione. E però l'idea del film iniziale è stata quella di distruggere questi confini, di non dare una dimensione geografica al film, ma dove tutto diventasse un confine mentale, una separazione mentale, un luogo mentale, dove tutte queste storie si potessero unire in una dimensione quasi astratta e di trasformazione della realtà.
E la prima volta che ho visto il film, adesso l'ho visto 3 volte, ma subito dalla prima volta mi ha molto colpito perché l'ho letto come una svolta una grossa svolta rispetto al percorso del tuo lavoro, nel senso che tornano le storie, tornano i personaggi, ma è come se avessi asciugato qualsiasi dettaglio che non è essenziale, proprio in direzione di una lettura più astratta e quindi più alta anche, no? più universale di quello che riprendi.
Sì, io ho avuto sempre nel mio lavoro 3 elementi su cui baso il mio lavoro, che è la trasformazione della realtà in qualcos'altro, però usando il linguaggio del cinema in maniera molto rigorosa e avendo davanti l'autorità del documentario, del reale. Però questo reale non basta filmarlo e osservarlo, bisogna trasformarlo in qualcos'altro, secondo me, o voglio trasformarlo in qualcos'altro, e quindi deve diventare metafora, deve diventare un altro racconto, deve portarti in un'altra dimensione per diventare poi universale, non semplicemente di osservazione. Aspetta, mi sono perso? Tre cose. E quindi nella trasformazione e poi nella sottrazione. E in questo film ho lavorato moltissimo di sottrazione, perché sono conto che dovevo andare nella sintesi o alla sintesi delle storie, dovevo trovare proprio questo elemento di densità della storia, senza preoccuparmi di quello che c'era prima e di quello che c'era dopo. E quindi devo trovare sempre l'essenzialità della storia, come la telefonata dura 3 minuti, sono stati 3 anni, il telefono l'ho trovato all'inizio di questi 3 anni e la mamma l'ho trovata dopo 3 anni, dopo averla cercata per 3 anni, e quella scena dura 3 minuti ed è assolutamente essenziale, non ha bisogno del prima e del dopo. E quindi la sfida poi del film era sempre di trovare quell'elemento di racconto che bastasse a non chiedersi ma cosa c'è di lui prima e cosa c'è di lui dopo. Deve essere completamente puro e libero da qualsiasi narrazione, no? E nel montaggio, dove c'è la struttura del film, tutto questo diventa ancora più importante, perché poi nel montaggio queste storie devono passare qui ho questa piantina dove ho girato, lì sono migliaia. Enorme questo territorio qui, siamo andati a volte per arrivare a una location, c'erano 4 giorni di macchina o aereo e poi macchina, quindi muoversi attraverso questa mappatura geografica così precisa e poi sgretolare tutto e renderlo astratto e renderlo qualcos'altro è stata una cosa difficilissima al montaggio, perché bastava dare un'informazione in più su un personaggio che poi non ti volevi più staccare da lui. E quindi non c'era più un'altra storia che poteva andare assieme. Quindi nel montaggio la sfida grossa è stata di trovare il punto in cui se lasci la storia e ne agganci un'altra e lo spettatore non gli manca qualcosa. È come in una composizione musicale dove c'è una nota e c'è un'altra nota, però questa nota deve continuare nella nota successiva e in mezzo c'è questo spazio di silenzio che è fondamentale. Il silenzio nel film è un elemento di racconto fondamentale.
Parlando di sfida, credo che un film del genere sia una sfida produttiva enorme e siccome abbiamo 3 produttori al tavolo vorrei che contribuissero a raccontare come è stato facile o difficile.
Io però voglio introdurre i produttori, che qualcuno spero sia qui, Sabine, Mohamed, non so, forse adesso le stanze, non so se sono tutti separati, Orwell è qui, Serge Lalou e Donatella, ma per me è stato fondamentale il lavoro fatto in questo film, trovare dei produttori del luogo che conoscessero le storie e a cui io potessi totalmente affidare la mia vita e la loro a me anche, perché poi eravamo entrambi in situazioni di pericolo, certo, soprattutto in Iraq, in Siria, e quindi aver avuto questi produttori che mi hanno dato la fiducia, con loro sei tranquillo, tornerai dopo 3 anni e avrai un film. E io lì non ho mai avuto dubbi, perché il primo dubbio non riesci più a muoverti, perché i passaggi terribili che abbiamo passato, dove dormire, come muoverti, chi ti protegge da una parte, passi un confine, c'è un'altra, sei consegnato a un'altra milizia che ti deve proteggere e tu diventi amico di questi e quegli altri, questi altri si odiano e si combattono e tu fai un mese con uno, un mese con l'altro, poi torni dagli altri e dici ma perché questi qui si stanno combattendo così? Io sono stato bene qui e sono stato bene di là. E cosa succede? Non sono mai riuscito a trovare una risposta a questa cosa. Però la cosa fondamentale è che in questi paesi ho avuto persone, gli assistenti che ho avuto, eravamo sempre in due a girare, un assistente e io che facevo la camera e il suono, quindi mai più di 2 persone e lì stare mesi e mesi e mesi e mesi con persone che io non conoscevo e che a un certo punto sono diventati compagni di vita e a cui ho dato e mi hanno dato tantissimo e quindi senza questa organizzazione produttiva messa assieme dai produttori e anche da un impegno economico importante in questo film non sarebbe stato possibile portare avanti per così tanti anni un film. Io dico sempre che questo film inizia dove finisce il reportage, dove inizia il titolone del giornale, dove poi ci si dimentica di quelle storie lì e il film vuole entrare e dare una dimensione più universale a queste storie. E grazie ai produttori che ho avuto.
Sì. Microfono.
No, qui.
Qui. Ok, in sala ci sono sedute delle persone importanti.
Donatella non sa usare il telefono, ogni volta che la chiamavo, ci chiamiamo 5 volte al giorno, però non riusciva.
Voglio dire che in sala ci sono sedute delle persone importanti per questo film. Sono Enrico Bufalini dell'Istituto Luce che subito ci ha appoggiato, Gabriele Genuino di Rai Cinema che insieme a Paolo Del Brocco ci ha seguito passo passo e ci hanno aiutato in tutto, anche emotivamente. E Michael Weber che ha abbracciato il film con affetto e amore, non tanto da venditore ma da persona che ama il cinema. E posso dire anche una cosa, è stato facilissimo produrre questo film perché avevamo tutti noi la sensazione che stavamo facendo una cosa importante e che Gianfranco stava per noi buttando un ponte tra mondi che non si conoscono, perché noi sappiamo tutti che succede in Medio Oriente, sunniti, sciiti, ma non sappiamo come sono le persone, come vivono, chi sono. E lui ha lanciato un ponte emotivo per noi. E poi è stato difficilissimo perché eravamo sempre spaventati, tutti noi produttori, che succedesse qualcosa al nostro regista. Questo.
Orwa è siriano, quindi lui conosce, per me è stato sempre un riferimento culturale nel film, quando devo fare delle scelte importanti lo chiamavo e dicevo ma questa qui secondo te può funzionare questa storia, oppure quando vedevamo, perché per me è importante non avere mai un giudizio, ecco, per me è stata una cosa difficile e importante da mantenere nel film, non giudicare mai quello che vedevo e non avere soprattutto un approccio ideologico, questa è stata anche una cosa difficile da fare, quindi Orla era sempre il mio tramite.
I must say that I'm of course the Syrian friend and the German producer. That's our world today, and this experience, Gianfranco and Donatella and Serge and Paolo and everyone, was truly in many ways exceptional in my career, in my life, but I think in cinema in general because of the attitude, of the approach of Gianfranco towards a region that he was discovering cinematically, the approach of sincere humility, the fact that Gianfranco never approached the Middle East with a sense of trying to understand in full or to explain in full. The idea was to connect on a human level, and I think that is what made this a real piece of cinematic poetry, a real piece of cinema, rather than any kind of claiming to decode a region that is very difficult to decode even for us who come from there. And that ended up with this exceptional journey as the process of the filmmaking happened. But then I believe it shows in the film, I hope you all agree, that it shows in the film that what's there is a human connection with every person who appears there, even with the nature of the region, rather than any kind of analytical polemic approach. The polemics are for you, for the audience to connect with. And I think this is an exceptional accomplishment that I'm just honored to be part of.
Thank you.
Una domanda là.
Vaniamitrano, duerighe.com. In parte ha già risposto una domanda per il regista, in parte ha già risposto nella sua introduzione, però le chiedo una specificazione ulteriore. Come mai ha scelto di non fornire, a parte la didascalia che apre il film, di non fornire poi nell'arco del film alcuna informazione riguardo ai luoghi, agli ambienti in cui sono state girate le varie storie, le varie scene e anche, anche rispetto alle persone?
Un po' perché appunto l'idea dei confini è un'idea che non appartiene a quella regione lì. I confini sono stati tracciati su un tavolino nel 1916 dalle potenze coloniali, senza considerare la cultura, le etnie, le radici di quei popoli che vivevano liberi e giravano durante l'impero ottomano. Non c'erano confini, non c'erano costrizioni. E da lì poi nasce tutto il disastro, no, degli anni che conosciamo, è la storia quella. Però in tutto questo poi le vere vittime sono sempre state la società civile, sono stati loro che hanno pagato il prezzo di tutte le scelte politiche sbagliate, la corruzione, dei regimi, di tutto quello che vogliamo, delle ingerenze straniere. E quindi quando ero lì la sfida era come un po' rompere questa divisione, anche se il film è stato girato all'interno di questi confini e racconta la quotidianità delle persone che vivono appunto, come dicevo prima, in questo confine tra la vita e la morte, tra la vita e l'inferno, tra la vita e la tragedia, tra la vita e la paura. E proprio volevo che tutto questo diventasse una questione mentale, un mondo mentale, che la geografia si annullasse e diventasse anziché geografica psicogeografica, e quindi annullare le separazioni, annullare gli stati e far sì che il film fosse portato avanti semplicemente dalle storie dei personaggi, che io credo siano storie universali. Ogni storia, ogni situazione ha un forte senso quasi archetipico, c'è un archetipo molto forte nei personaggi, c'è un elemento universale molto forte, e quindi alla fine non c'è la differenza sapere che una storia è girata una volta che ho dichiarato che il film è girato in quei territori, diventava un po' didascalico secondo me dire che una scena è in Siria e poi la seconda perché non era importante per me andare dalla Siria al Libano, al Kurdistan o all'Iraq in quel momento, era importante andare da quel personaggio, e quindi il legame che ho cercato del film era un legame della dimensione umana e non della dimensione geografica.
Una domanda là? Yes.
Great. I loved the film. It was wonderful. Fikra Gibbons from AFP. I'm here, over here. Fikra Gibbons from AFP. I loved the film. It was very strong. But a question I just wondered about was the way. I wondered how much did you work on setups? Sometimes it felt a little bit like you had talked to the subjects and that had been a little bit of setting up. And the other thing which I loved as well was the idea that we were witnessing something, we were voyeurs to other lives. Was that somehow, did that?
I talked to the subject for months before I start shooting, because none of the scene that you see is just happened by chance or there. Every single person you see in the film, I spent months and months together in the school, in the marshland. With Ali, I spent like 3-4 months with him. So everything is a very strong bonding and relationship that happened before. I spent 6 months without the camera, being with the people I then decide to film. So once you do that, you break, you don't have to ask questions, you don't have to do setup, because you know so well what's happening or what's going to happen. You create such an intimacy that what you have to do is like to anticipate certain moments that they naturally happen every time. Of course, there are certain scenes that I knew that were going to happen and knew that where was the right camera to put. But the film was never scripted. The film was never directed in the official sense. The film was. I mean, I believe that every person has a ritual. Every person. When there is a camera, we change. I change. The person in front of the camera change. Eschilo used to say that the best actor is the one that acts without the idea of acting. No, that's the best performance. And I believe. I mean. Without setup, there is no cinema. Then we have to make a movie with a real camera. Even TV show that they call reality TV is fake because it's not real. I mean, it's probably the only real film we have is like the one in the street that people are not aware that are filmed. But the moment we create a relationship and there is this commitment of being filmed, you are setting up. My camera is a big camera, it's an Arriflex. Big camera. I would love to shoot with a Panavision camera, a huge camera. I want to be visible there. I don't want to hide that I'm filming. My camera has to be very heavy, and I don't want to move the camera. It has to be there. I have to choose the frame, and inside this frame, when you wait, things happen. I always say that my way of work is about missing things. It's not about gaining things. I may be in 3 years, I lost 99% of things. So the film is only 1% of the things I was able to film. And the same thing is in the editing. You have 90 hours of film and you end up with 90 minutes film. But then what is important, that even what you didn't film, or you were not able to film, you perceived in the film that is there. That's what is important. Things you are missed, and things you don't see are there. A perfect frame is when you're filming and what you have in front contains also what is in my back. So everything has to be contained. So things that are left all out from the film are part of the film. Otherwise the film will not talk. Otherwise it will be like something clumsy and something thin. So it's important to leave things out. It's important to bring everything to the present tense and forget that that day that you filmed that scene, you almost were kidnapped, and yet you didn't. That film is not in the film, but it is in the film. Even if it's not there physically, it's there on the perception of what happened after. I mean, a good photographer is when he's able to fix one frame, and in this frame, you know what happened before and what happened after, because there's a story there. You don't see, but it's there in that frame. Also, I think a good film doesn't have to be everything inside. A good film is when you perceived things that are left over and yet are there. But as I say, for me, it's very important to create a relationship. I'm not a good reporter. If now will happen the most incredible thing, I will not be able to film because I will be in the wrong position. So first I have to find the distance, the right distance from a scene, and then I'm able to think. I'm not good to improvise. If there is an incredible event and I'm with my camera, I will not want to film. Unless then I would say something, I have to one choice, I put the camera here and don't move it. And that's what I do.
Un follow-up veloce alla domanda del signore e poi vado da lei. Volevo sapere, Gianfranco, ne abbiamo parlato un po', come il fatto che tu avessi anche una barriera linguistica, se ti ha aiutato in questo rapporto con i personaggi o no, perché non parlavi la loro lingua.
In alcuni momenti mi ha aiutato. Adesso c'è il mio meraviglioso montatore del suono che dice: ma sai che questo film non ridi mai, in tutti i tuoi film ridi sempre, no? Perché negli altri film probabilmente ero in grado di instaurare un rapporto nel quotidiano, anche di battute, di cose, quindi viene fuori anche un elemento comico delle persone che quindi io riuscivo a seguire. Qui, non avendo la lingua, per me era semplicemente quello che accadeva in quel momento e non riuscivo a interagire o a cogliere una battuta e poi da quella battuta andare da un'altra parte, quindi era molto pulito il tutto, molto, non dico asettico, però molto appropriato, no? Era molto set, come si dice? Sì. Perché mancava questo dialogo, a me mancava moltissimo questa interazione, perché avevo sempre un interprete, oppure si basava su degli sguardi, sulle battute, su dei gesti affettuosi, però poi una volta che poi giravo non c'era comunicazione, quindi io dovevo fidarmi del mio istinto quando giravo. E quindi quella cosa mi mancava moltissimo. Infatti uno dei personaggi, delle persone che ho amato di più nel film era lì, perché lì nella vita non parlava, non è muto, non parla. E aveva anche un suo amico che era muto realmente, però ho detto questo è un po' troppo, tutte e due. Allora poi il suo amico si è comportato male e non sono riuscito più a filmarlo. Però lì non parlava mai, aveva questo sguardo, questa intensità. Io ogni volta che lo guardavo, ogni sguardo suo raccontava delle cose immense. Ho fatto tantissimi primi piani, poi nel film ce ne sono pochissimi perché sennò diventava un abuso. Però per me ogni primo piano di Ali è un dialogo infinito che apre a qualsiasi interpretazione, il suo sguardo, le sue pause. E io con lui avrei girato per un anno intero perché era complesso e allo stesso tempo era molto intrigante lavorare con una persona nel quotidiano che non diceva mai una parola, quindi dovevo semplicemente adattarmi ai suoi gesti, alla sua gestualità, ai suoi ritmi, alle sue cose che erano meravigliose, di una forza. Uno dei momenti che io amo di più nel film è il primo piano di Ali alla fine del film, che proprio sottolinea questa sensazione che ho avuto durante il film e durante tutto quel periodo, che poi ho avuto e ho capito il film quando sono tornato a febbraio, che c'è stato il lockdown qui, dove anche l'Occidente viveva un momento in cui il futuro è sospeso, no? un futuro sospeso. Adesso stiamo vivendo e ci terrorizza, e in quel mondo lì il futuro è sospeso da anni, no? Sono anni che il futuro è sospeso. E lì, in quel momento lì, in quello sguardo, poi un brivido di freddo che si muove un attimo, è proprio la sensazione di un futuro sospeso. Cosa sarà di lui? Diventerà, non lo so, no? Ti lascia veramente questa sospensione. Per me è uno dei momenti più forti del film ed è un primo piano che io non faccio mai i primi piani. Per me è un po'... negli altri miei film sono rarissimi i primi piani, invece con Ali avevo proprio bisogno. Io ho girato con 3 lenti questo film, non so se vi interessa la cosa tecnica, c'è un grandangolo, un 18, un 25 e un 85, e non ho mai usato l'85 in vita mia, e l'ho usato molto con Ali, perché quando lui era seduto e io avevo questa lente e riuscivo a entrare nel suo mondo, era come non c'erano parole che potessero riempire quell'immagine.
Una domanda alla signora.
Antoniozzi della Voce di New York. Volevo tornare ai contenuti. Il manicomio è come un fil rouge all'interno del film. Come?
L'ha sentito da me prima. No, scherzo.
No.
Sto scherzando.
Quindi lei ci mostra la pista teatrale che poi rappresenta la parte più saggia, no? Di tutta questa situazione di grande follia che è quella parte storica del mondo. Allora è come se voleva forse dirci che la situazione storica, la situazione della guerra e della povertà va oltre la follia, no? Attribuisce, lei attraverso il suo film attribuisce dei valori di saggezza alla pista teatrale dei poveri malati.
In Medio Oriente c'è un detto, no, che dicono la saggezza viene dai folli, mi raccontava, non so se anche qui c'è, ma mi diceva sempre Salam, che in Medio Oriente c'è un detto, in Middle East there is a way to say wisdom is a part of man. Only a mad person can be wise. Somehow there is a way to say.
No, absolutely. There is a lot of that in the culture that speaks about madness being the ultimate wisdom, and about the very thin line between madness and wisdom. But I also have to say that they're not crazy. These people.
No, they're not.
They're just victims also.
Absolutely, but what.
È comunque in molti casi c'è la perdita di un pensiero razionale, no? Quindi comunque il manicomio di per sé a livello simbolico rappresenta appunto la perdita di strade chiare. Quindi quello che volevo capire, non lo so se era sua intenzione o comunque se è uscita fuori come una creazione che viene forse dall'inconscio, come dire, al di là la situazione della pazzia sociale, no? della situazione politica, come lei ce l'aveva descritta all'inizio nella didascalia, va oltre il concetto di follia. No? Chiara la mia domanda, cioè lo stesso matrimonio e lo stesso manicomio in un certo senso ci può condurre in qualche modo a dei contenuti, a dei valori saggi, mentre la realtà questo non lo raggiunge mai, quel tipo di realtà.
No.
E quindi questo può rappresentare anche una sua valutazione della situazione politica.
Quando all'inizio dicevo che dopo 3 anni capisco molto meno di quando ho iniziato, no? Perché più ero all'interno di quella dimensione e meno capivo, più cercavo di capire meno capivo, più domande mi facevo e meno risposte avevo, ero risposte confuse. E quindi il manicomio era una delle storie che sì, uno dei miei produttori locali in Iraq mi aveva consigliato di andare in questo posto e cercare di capire se potevo girare qualcosa. Anche lì è un luogo che ho frequentato tantissimo e non sono mai riuscito a trovare una storia all'interno di quel posto lì. E dopo esserci andato 6, 7, 8 volte, intanto era difficilissimo avere i permessi per girare. A un certo punto ci danno il permesso per girare e il direttore dice: guarda, ti abbiamo dato il permesso, però non puoi non puoi filmare i pazienti. Dico: ma come non posso girare i pazienti? Cosa giro? Puoi girare il giardino, le cose, gli esterni. Dico: vabbè, ma poi dopo cosa racconto? Dice: c'è stata la crew della BBC che è venuta l'altro ieri, qui ha girato gli esterni del giardino e poi hanno fatto vabbè, sì, però lì c'è la voce che aiuta, io non posso fare questo. Comunque poi tramite il nostro produttore iracheno siamo riusciti ad avere questo permesso per girare, però l'ultimo giorno quando io sono andato lì, ormai nella disperazione, sapendo che avrei abbandonato questa storia, quindi un po' un senso di sconfitta perché era una storia che secondo me era importante, scopro che c'è un teatro. Stavo salutando il direttore della struttura e sento delle voci, gente che ride e vedo che c'è un teatro piccolino, come si vede nel film, e con delle persone che ridono e c'è una proiezione in una performance teatrale. E mi siedo lì per 10 minuti e guardo, era meraviglioso quello che vedevo, c'era il proiettore, esco fuori e chiedo al medico, che è anche quello che ha scritto la cosa, ma cos'è quello? Dice: questa qui è la terapia che facciamo con i pazienti che stanno meglio ed è la terapia del teatro. E di cosa racconta questa pièce? Dice: racconta la storia del Medio Oriente, dell'Iraq, no, di tutto il Medio Oriente, Our Land, quindi senza confini. E quindi mi faccio tradurre questo script che era 50 pagine e col mio assistente cerchiamo di ridurlo, di cose eccetera, e di capire, e poi chiedo il permesso e finalmente mi fanno riprendere queste prove. Da lì è nata, anche lì sono stato un mese all'interno di questo posto qui, riprendendo quotidianamente le prove che loro facevano senza capire nulla. E poi un giorno riesco a convincerli, ho detto: ma per me è importante anche andare oltre questa scena qui, perché sennò potrei essere ovunque qua, quindi devo capire in che spazi sono. E un giorno va via la luce e dice: guarda, puoi filmare perché non si vede niente, non vedrai le facce delle altre persone, non c'è luce, quindi di là puoi filmare. E quindi sono andato in questi corridoi mentre loro facevano la memorizzazione e ci sono questi due mondi della follia del corridoio, mentre loro fanno la memorizzazione eccetera, il mondo del palcoscenico, del teatro, che quindi dopo mesi di lavoro mi sono reso conto che questo si poteva diventare il fil rouge del film. E ancora come i miei film nascono attraverso il caso e poi diventano necessari, il caso è la necessità sempre, no? Tutto nasce per caso e poi diventa necessario ed è diventato il fil rouge del film. Quindi tutto quello che io non riuscivo a raccontare con interviste, perché poi non faccio mai interviste, o con un voice over o con una voce fuori campo, è diventato il teatro che ci dava questo minimo di senso, di storia e di un'ancora sul passato e sul presente, sulla corruzione, sulle invasioni, sull'ISIS, e quindi raccontava tutto quel mondo che io non riuscivo a raccontare se non in maniera didascalica, e non volevo farlo in maniera didascalica. Quindi il teatro è diventato una gemma preziosissima nel film, che appunto nel montaggio ci siamo resi conto che poteva essere il filo narrativo del film.
Prima di chiudere, perché purtroppo mi dicono che non abbiamo più tempo, vorrei chiedere a Paolo Del Brocco se ci racconta cosa succederà al film nelle prossime settimane, visto che esce in Italia questa settimana e poi però ha già una lunga serie di appuntamenti.
Intanto esce domani in Italia e questo è un punto fermo. No, il film avrà una enorme visibilità internazionale e grazie a Venezia che lo lancia, ma credo che sia in un momento in cui tutti i festival stringono un po', no? Il numero dei titoli, questo film credo che sia l'unico al mondo che è stato preso già al New York Film Festival, a Toronto e a Telluride, ed è notizia di oggi che è stato preso anche al London Film Festival, al Festival di Busan e al Festival di Tokyo, l'unico. Quindi credo che questo rappresenti un po' una possibilità enorme di visibilità internazionale e di attenzione a questo film, a mio avviso, fantastico di Gianfranco.
E io voglio dire solo una cosa, Serge, non hai parlato, però Serge Laloux è produttore dalla parte francese del film, è il mio primo produttore che ho avuto. Serge ha prodotto il mio film anni fa che si chiama Il Sicario, ed è stato il primo produttore a darmi fiducia in un certo modo, e con Arte che hanno poi sempre prodotto i miei film, e quindi con Serge c'è un rapporto lungo, è il primo produttore che ho avuto nella mia storia di regista, perché tutti i miei primi film sono sempre stati autoprodotti. Forse Serge vuol dire qualcosa anche tu sul film? Solo un secondo, vi chiedo.
Solo un secondo, giusto dire che per me questo film è il film più cinematografico che ho visto da molto tempo, cioè cinematografico nel senso che crede veramente nel cinema, veramente che si può fare qualcosa senza pensare o essere ossessionato dal soggetto, e c'è uno sguardo su un luogo e a un momento attraverso immagine e suono si crea qualcosa che non avevo mai visto.
E su questo purtroppo devo chiudere. Grazie di essere qua, grazie di averci dato il film e a voi di essere venuti.